Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to be jumping into my favorite tournament or GPP takes and plays of Week 5 of the NFL season here on Draftkings. I cannot wait to get into this one with y'all. The support has really been unreal lately. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for just taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. Those of you that have been active in the comment sections, leaving really great just compliments and also constructive criticism, I really appreciate it. I cannot wait to get into this one. As always, please leave a like if you have not already. And then again, I'm always happy to help you when I can with any season-long fantasy questions, DFS, DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo. I don't care what it is. Feel free to ask in the comment section below. I'm always happy to give advice when I can. My cash game locks, for those of you that like to play double-ups, head-to-heads, and 50-50s, went up yesterday morning. So those should have been up Friday morning, Friday afternoon-ish at the latest. So if you have not already, please do check that video out. And then let's go ahead and jump into this video here. We're going to start off at the quarterback position. I'm going to give you all a couple of my favorite tournament quarterbacks. I'm really focusing in on one guy. My favorite GPP play this week, it's sick calling Aaron Rodgers a GPP play. When I have the luxury of being able to play Aaron Rodgers as a 3 to 4% owned quarterback, I don't care if Devontae Adams plays or not. I really don't. I don't really think it affects Aaron Rodgers' upside significantly. Marquez Valdez, Scantling, and Geronimo Allison and Jimmy Graham are all very good targets for Aaron Rodgers. You don't have to be a great, talented receiver to be a good target for Aaron Rodgers. It's just an unbelievable quarterback. We all know this. He's coming off of a really good week against a really bad secondary. I'm thinking maybe they can keep the fire rolling. I think that he is definitely my favorite tournament quarterback this week. But I do want to mention one other quarterback. Dallas's defense, by the way, it's just been atrocious, and I think this game will stay very competitive, so I see him throwing the ball quite a bit. Another super contrarian quarterback, Kirk Cousins. This is kind of just a squeaky wheel narrative. He has fumbled twice in 3 of the 4 games of this season. Kirk Cousins is not, in my opinion, a great quarterback by any means. He hasn't broken 14.3 fantasy points this year, which was against Atlanta, who we've seen be exposed by other teams through the air. So it is a little weird to say that I think he's a decent play this week, but with all this stuff that's happened this past week, with Thielen pissed off, Diggs is pissed off, everybody's not happy about the fact that they're running the ball, and Kirk is just not letting his wide receivers shine, and then he actually issued an apology, I think, to Thielen. So I think that if you think that they're going to try something different this week and fix it against this horrendous Giants secondary, go for it. I'm all about it. I did also mention, I want to take 2 seconds to mention this. I mentioned it in my cash game locks video. The Millie Maker is doing a side game, mini spiff, whatever. They're splitting $100,000 between anybody who has the quarterback and correlating wide receiver. So like it would be Cousins and Thielen or Watson and Hopkins. Whatever quarterback wide receiver combo scores the most fantasy points combined this week, they're splitting $100,000 if you have them in your Millie Maker lineup with everybody else who has them. It is a really great week to play the Millie Maker and stack literally nobody. Just play a naked quarterback, play a naked Watson, and then you don't have to stack him. You don't have to play any of his targets because everybody's going to be doing that. It is not worth it. There are 235,000 people in the Millie Maker, and $100,000 is being split. If you have Watson and Hopkins and they score if they're the number one combo, that's the one that gets paid out. And let's just say there's 235,000 people. Let's say 2.35K people, 1% have that combo. 2.35K is like 50. Yeah, like $50? No? Yeah, it's like $50, I think. My math could be off. But my point is you're not making a lot of money. It's not worth it, but it's a really good week to expose the people that are going for that. So I did want to mention that real quick because I don't think that if you're playing the Millie Maker, if you're trying to hit it big, I don't think the move is going to be stacking QB wide receiver in that tournament specifically. But again, though, Kirk Cousins, sketchy play, but very contrarian, possibly a really good play. He's just dirt cheap at $5,300. Coming over here to running back, my favorite running back this week is for tournaments. Just want to be clear. I want to say that over and over. That way y'all aren't thinking this is a safe play. But Melvin Gordon is an animal, and for some odd reason, he's projected to be minuscule ownership, like 5%-ish or something like that. against a Denver defense who allowed over 200 yards to Leonard Fournette on 30 carries last week. I expect the Chargers to win this game. I do not expect it to be within 7 points. I think that this is actually a sneaky game to maybe have like a 31 to 20, 22, or I'm sorry, like 21. I was going to say 24 or 21. I said 22, but it could be a 50-plus game easily. So I think Melvin Gordon could just have a really big week on his welcome back. Yeah, his head coach, definitely going to be a part of the game plan week 5 and might even start. I would assume that he's going to get a majority of the volume here. I don't think Eckler retains his role. I think Eckler's actually a really safe floor, but he's just too high priced, I think, still at $6,700 with a healthy Melvin Gordon coming back. So if we locked in Melvin, it's really not too bad salary-wise. And then continuing down here at the running back list, and the reason that I'm not really talking about many more of these high-priced guys for tournaments is because they're all going to be so highly owned. If you come down a little bit more, though, a couple of my favorite plays are actually going to be, I passed him, there he is, Derrick Henry against this Buffalo stingy front. Buffalo has not really been exposed by any running backs so far this year to a serious degree or extent, I guess. I think Derrick Henry is actually a pretty solid contrarian play. He's not going to be very highly owned at all. He has not scored less than 11.6 points this year. You need more than that at 6K, but at the same time, this is a game where Tennessee's at home. They're favored, and a home-favored running back at only 6K in Derrick Henry, who can always, trust me, I know he knocked me out of my season-long league last year when he had that monster game. He can always do something nuts like that. He's had a touchdown in all but last week, so I don't see Derrick Henry being a bad play at all. I'm happy to lock him in as a tournament play this week with his upside. It's just there. Coming over here to wide receiver, this is where I don't like mixing my cash lineup and GPP lineups too much. But I can't get off of Julio Jones this week. I just think he's just a takedown. This week is a Julio breaks the slate week, coming off of a bad week against this Houston secondary who's just been exposed by wide receiver ones to start the year. I think it was Michael Thomas had like 15 targets or something, 13 targets against Houston. And who else did they play? Somebody else had a really big game against Houston. Let's see, it was Michael Thomas and I think Keenan Allen. Did they play Houston? Yeah, Keenan Allen, 17 targets. That's 30 targets between two wide receiver ones. If Julio, we've seen him get 11 and 13, I think, or 10 and 11 targets. And these are the numbers he can put up. On 10 targets, he put up 30 points. It's one of those things where if he was to get 13 to 14 targets, his ceiling is just unimaginable. So for that reason, I'm locking in Julio for pretty much cash and tournaments. I just think he's an amazing play. Now, I do want to go down and do some salary saving here. If Devontae Adams is out, I really like to play Marquez Valdez Scantling. Just because a wide receiver one under Aaron Rodgers' offense is just a great play. I don't dislike him at all. You can't. If he's Aaron Rodgers' number one target, it's just kind of a lock, especially if you're going to play him up there. And this is talking, again, outside the Millie Maker where everybody's stacking QB wide receiver. I don't think it's a must fade, but at the same time, I think it's a good week to expose everybody that is doing that and try to get some leverage there. If Devontae Adams is out, Geronimo Allison, his target share goes up big time too, as a number 2 target there in the offense. If you want to say Jimmy Graham's up there as a number 2 target, go for it. We'll get to him here shortly. But one of my favorite tournament wide receivers this week is going to be Golden Tate, who notoriously has exposed the Vikings in his career as a Lion. I think that coming out of the slot, staying away from Xavier Rhodes is going to be a pretty safe spot for him to, or safe spot for Daniel Jones to just kind of dip it off and let Golden Tate do the work. So I think he's an amazing play at only 4,600. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the cheapest we see him all year. So I'm happy to lock in Golden Tate here. And then if you do want to come down, there are 2 guys at this $3,500 price tag, side by side, Auden Tate and Keyshawn Johnson. Both great plays just because of the injuries. We got John Ross out, which makes Tate a number 2, and then Keyshawn Johnson's probably going to be a number 2 here, essentially behind Larry Fitz. So with Bird and Kirk out, I think Keyshawn's a good play. He had 10 targets that week 1, which is just kind of an outlier, as we've seen so far anyway. My personal favorite of the two is going to be Auden Tate because these Arizona Cardinals are so high-paced. Andy Dalton will be forced to throw the ball, and Auden Tate's just a big guy. He's a big Calvin Johnson-sized guy. I mentioned him in my cash game lineup. I think Auden Tate's a good salary saver here. So if you want to go for him, I don't dislike it in tournaments and cash, but I do want to talk about Javon Wims, the preseason god, coming in with a serious upside shot this week. I think he's a really good tournament play. He's projected minuscule ownership again. I think Wims is going to potentially break out this week, but potentially score 3 fantasy points. It's hard to judge that Bears offense, so take your pick of these 3,500 guys. I would lean personally towards probably Auden Tate being the safest. And then between these next two, I think Wims just has more upside than Keyshawn Johnson does. So I would probably say Wims there. But for a tournament lineup, I'll definitely take Javon Wims. Coming to tight end, though, because we have Aaron Rodgers at QB, I do want to go ahead and talk about my 2 favorite tight ends, and one being, let's see, where is he? Jimmy Graham, 4,300. He had a 9-target game last week against Philly, who has a bad secondary. And at the same time, though, when Aaron Rodgers says, I want to get you more involved in the offense, and his number 1 wide receiver is likely to miss, you cannot overlook Jimmy Graham this week. Not going to be owned as much as he should be. I just love Jimmy Graham this week. And then I do want to go to defense real quick so we can look at the flex right after. I'm going to be paying up, period, for the Patriots defense in tournaments this week. I think the upside's just way too insane. And I against a Washington offense who doesn't even really know their quarterback, I'm all about taking the Pats D. But coming over to our flex, though, we got 6,600 left, and that leaves us just enough for 2 guys that I think are both really good tournament plays. The better tournament play is probably going to be Tyler Boyd, because Michael Thomas we've never seen him that cheap. I don't think he'll ever be that cheap again. I think he's going to crush his value this week. But I do think he's going to be very, very popular. I don't care if it's Bridgewater or Breeze at captain. Against that Tampa Bay secondary, he's a sick play. So it's between him and Boyd. Thomas, again, probably the safer route. But with the upside against that super fast-paced Arizona defense, Tyler Boyd also makes a really great play here. With all of the risks we've already taken in this little example lineup, I would probably just take Michael Thomas, eat a little bit of a chalkier play on Michael Thomas, a little bit of a chalkier play on Julio. But everything else is very contrarian. Obviously, the Pats deal will probably be fairly popular as well. But this is kind of what I'm looking at for tournaments. Hard not to take Aaron Rodgers when he's only 3 to 4% owned. So good luck to y'all. I hope one of y'all has a huge week. I hope I personally have a huge week. We had a huge showdown night actually last night on DFS Squid. Both cash lineups just crushed it. And then I think our FanDuel GPP cashed with ease as well. But definitely get over there, sign up, check that out. And if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to DM me on Twitter or just leave a comment on the video. I'm happy to get back to you. But good luck to everybody this week. It's going to be a really fun Sunday, and I can't wait to see how we all do.